Today we're talking about plyos, one of the most underutilized form of trainings to help improve your athleticism.
So what are plyometrics? Plyometrics are defined as the rapid and repeated stretching and contracting of muscles in order to improve strength and power. Now these are fantastic for recruiting fast twitch muscle fibers, and they're a great exercise in order to improve your ability to both generate and absorb high levels of force. This in turn will improve your running performance and speed over those short to medium distances, such as sprinting, and to those medium distance formats like your 5 and 10K distances. It's going to reduce your risk of injury and just general athletic performance. So there's two different types of plyometrics. There's fast-phase plyometrics and there's slow-phase plyometrics. And what differentiates the two is the amount of ground contact time you have while you're completing each exercise. For the fast-phase plyometrics, they're going to work on the neuromuscular system, which we'll talk about in a second. For your slow-phase plyometrics, they're going to have longer ground contact times. So the longer ones are going to be over 0.25 seconds. Your fast ones are going to be less than 0.25 seconds of ground contact time. So if you think about fast-phase plyos, you're looking at Pogos is a great example because I'm spending less than 0.25 seconds on the ground, and this is going to be working on that neuromuscular component. Now depth jumps from a small height can be a fast-phase plyometrics when you get actually better at them because you're trying to spend as little time on the ground as possible. If you do it from a higher height, this will then translate into a slower phase plyometric because you're spending more time on the ground to accept that higher load as you go from a higher height. Now, if you're like me, you can do it out in the wild on random stones, or if you have access to a gym, it's obviously easier just to use the provided steps.
And boxes.
And boxes. And boxes. And boxes. So the neuromuscular component that we're talking about is utilizing something called the stretch shortening cycle. Now, what that is, it's the rapid movement from an eccentric stretch position into a contraction of that same muscle. So if we use the basic example of a jump to explain this, as you go down and load up into this jump, your calf muscle and your Achilles tendon will go under stretch. Now, within the muscle belly of your calf, the receptors in there will tell your brain that it's getting under stretch. The brain will then send a message back to that muscle to switch on and contract, and that is called the stretch reflex and is part of the stretch shortening cycle. Now this reflex, as you practice these faster phase movements over time and you practice getting on and off the ground really quickly, rapidly generating and absorbing force, that is going to work on this neuromuscular component of plyometric training. And it's only in these fast phase exercises that this stretch reflex can be improved over time. So if you want to unlock your full athletic potential, tapping into these movements which target the neuromuscular system in plyometric training will allow you to get there. So now let's talk about those slower phase plyometric exercises where your ground contact times are above or greater than 0.25 seconds. These is going to include things such as lunge jumps, depth jumps from a higher height, or even those greater movements such as squat jumps. What this is going to improve is the active muscular component in generating strength and power. So if we think about these movements, because you're spending longer time on the ground, usually what's involved is a larger joint excursion. So what's happening is you're moving through a greater range of motion, and then you're needing to create higher loads and higher force in order to produce the movement itself. Why this is important, because when you're trying to reach those higher loads or higher amounts of force production, you're going to need to tap into the type 2 muscle fibers. And these are your fast twitch muscle fibers, which are really important for athleticism, speed, and power. Now, these slow phase plyometrics don't improve your neuromuscular response. It's not a fast enough movement to tap into that stretch reflex that we previously mentioned. But what they will do is increase the muscle recruitment required and improve your ability to produce power in your muscles. Where this is going to translate into real life examples is think about changes of direction on the sports field and also acceleration on the sports field or in sports such as running. Now, the second way plyometrics work in our body is to stiffen up our tendons. Now, it's a common misconception that we want our tendons loose and limber through stretching that everyone pushes online. We actually want our tendons stiff and strong. Now, we want them to be stiff and strong through plyometrics exercises. And a good way to think about this is, let's use the analogy of an elastic band. If you have a tight, thick, new elastic band, when you pull it back, it's going to snap back really quickly. It's got a really good amount of elastic recoil. And if you compare that to an old, loose, gross elastic band, as you pull it, it's going to be really slow to respond. It's not going to have much elastic recoil, and it's going to be quite droopy and slow. So if we relate that back to tendons, the stiffer you make your tendons through incorporating things like strength exercises and plyometrics, they're going to get tighter and stiffer. And this is really good for athleticism because what it's going to do is it's going to improve elastic recoil, which in turn, that's going to make you faster, stronger, and more powerful in your movements. And it's also going to be great for energy conservation because it's making you more bouncy. You're more energy efficient. stiff tendons can absorb force quickly and then generate that force and utilize it in force production, which in turn will make you a better athlete. So a quick summary. So your fast phase ones are going to develop that neuromuscular response. Your slow phase ones are going to develop that active muscular component and power production. And then both of those exercises are going to help to stiffen your tendons over time. And all of those combined will therefore make you a better athlete.
Perfect.
And now DB is going to give you some more great examples to try.
As always, we suggest a warm up. Now, the really simple flavor of the month exercise that we've been pushing are Pogos. Great for runners, great for improving your ability to get that quick ground reaction timing. So your foot touches the ground lightly, you're springing back up. It's a great way to get you into the mood for some plyometrics. So of course, with plyometrics, there's a big focus in that force production, our ability to jump high. But if you're able to jump high but can't land safely, then it's not going to be as beneficial for you. So that's something that is so essential that we train, and that's why with these box jump variations, we aim for that drop down so that you can get used to landing properly and safely. So with our drop down options, there's a couple ways that you can progress. A really nice way to get you started is find a height that you feel comfortable, and just as you land onto both feet. Now, once you get comfortable with that, there's a couple options for you. You can either increase the height and continue jumping down onto both feet, or you could go to a single leg drop variation where you keep it at the same height and start landing on that single leg. This is going to be a great way to improve your ability to stop on the spot. So as we're practicing this, trying to avoid the little pivoting motions when you land, I want you to stop and stick the landing. So with this movement, it's all about your ability to decelerate. And this is a variable that's essential when you're coming back from injury. If you're someone that's had a lower limb injury and you're working with a physio or an EP or a personal trainer, it's something that we work on quite a lot. Not just your ability to accelerate, it's your deceleration phase that is almost the most essential part. So that's what we're thinking and keeping at the back of our minds when we do these exercises. So guys, we're going to start with your easier versions, then we're going to progress them to your harder versions of plyometrics. So some really simple exercises to get you started is just using your box jump variations. So a really nice one to start is find a height that you think is appropriate, and you're just going to do your double leg box jump on to the box and just a standard step down. So that takes you to your second progression, which is just a box jump and through. So you're going to jump up onto the box and then jump off the other side, landing, stick the landing on both legs. You want really nice control, soft landing. Try and make that landing as quiet as possible. Obviously for the setup, you're going to need space on either side to do this properly. The next progression is doing a very similar exercise where you're jumping up onto the box with both legs, but on the drop down, you're going to land and stick the landing on one leg only. Really important to build that control. I really want you to try and hold the landing position so you know that you're accepting weight through your leg in a safe and comfortable way. If you feel like as you stick the landing, you just can't seem to get your balance, then it may be either too high a box or something that you may benefit from just using the double leg landing to get you started. The next progression, we're starting to get a little bit more athletic, a little bit more explosive. You're going to jump up onto the box, and then you're going to land down on both feet and then quickly maximally jump off the ground. You can either jump onto a smaller box or just jump straight up into the air. This is a fantastic plyometric exercise because you're working on your force propulsion, so your ability to produce power by doing the box jump variation. But then you're also looking at your ability to accept weight quickly and then produce that power again. One of my favorite exercises to help build your athleticism, your power, and your ability to change direction on the spot. The goal of that exercise is on that landing is to spend as little time on the ground as possible and really maximally produce the most powerful jump you have. That's really going to help take your athleticism to that next level. Now, if you've been doing plyometrics for a while and you're looking to take it to the next level and you want maximum leg burn, then here are some lunge variations, plyometric exercises that you need to give a shot. The first variation is just your standard lunge jump. So there's nothing special to this, you're just going to be in your lunge position. If you're getting used to it, sometimes having something to hold on to nearby will be helpful just in case you lose your balance. You're just going to be jumping up into the air and landing, dropping down into that lunge position and reloading as quickly as you can. Aim for that 10 reps, 3 sets to start, and that's going to be a really nice way to introduce. Make sure you do it on both sides. And if you're getting comfortable with that, then it's time to do some alternating leg lunge jumps. Now this is going to involve a little bit of coordination, and as I mentioned before, it might be helpful to have something to hold on to because you don't want to be ending up in one of those gym stack videos. Now it's the exact same setup for the first exercise, but as we jump off the ground, we're going to be switching our legs and alternating the position that we land in. This is a great way to get a feel for if you have any strength differences or any coordination differences between your legs. The reason I love lunge variations is because we're really targeting your ability to produce that power. Jumping, it's very dynamic, and it also requires a little bit of coordination, which is fantastic for building your athleticism. Because obviously when we're looking at the term athleticism, it's not just about being powerful, but it's also being able to coordinate your movements. So being able to use that power appropriately. Now, who would have thought there'd be a way to hate Bulgarian split squats more than what we already do? Here is a plyometric version that you can absolutely rip into. So it's the same setup that we used for Bulgarian split squats in the past. So sitting on the edge of the bench, extend your legs out as far as they can go. One of those feet is going to be your starting position. You're going to be hopping and jumping off your front leg and working on your ability to produce as much power, as much push to clear the ground as high as you can. As you land, you want to spend as little time on the ground as possible and work on your ability to produce that quick, powerful muscle contraction. Similar principles to what we've talked about before. It's not just about force production, but your ability to quickly accept your weight and produce a powerful reaction again. Now, this is one exercise that you're going to do one leg at a time, and then you're going to switch over to the other side. A great way to see if you've got any strength differences between the two legs. This is one of my favorite plyometric exercises, as it will absolutely burn as you perform it. So far in these exercises, we've looked at your unidirectional force production and your ability to accept that weight. It's really important though, when we do this, we also want to work on our side to side movement. When we look at that sporting, that athleticism that we need, it's not just about that one directional movement, it's being powerful and strong in multi directions. A really simple exercise to get you started is just your lateral hopping. To set yourself up with this, you can use 2 cones just to mark out where you're jumping to, and you want to be hopping from side to side, alternating legs. As this gets easier, just lengthen the distance that you're aiming to hop between, and that's going to be a great way to progress. A great progression for this is your ice skater, where as you land on your leg, you're going to drop down onto that leg, moving into more of a squat position. Then you're going to push out of that squat position and jump back to the direction that which you came from. It's a great way to work on your stability, your ability to balance, as well as your power moving from side to side. And the last side to side exercise that we get people to do is hopping from side to side, staying on the same leg. Now, this is a test that is actually performed a lot in athletes coming back from ankle and knee injuries, and it's looking at your ability, your stability in those structures, as well as your confidence in loading the limb from side to side. So this is something that is fantastic to do if you're coming back from injury and you're looking at that return to sport phase. And it's also something that's really helpful to train, because it's going to work on your knee and ankle stability, as well as the power you need to be an athletic person. So in my opinion, you just need to choose one of those lateral or side to side exercises to include into your plyometric training program. It's really important not just to be powerful in that one directional movement, but working on your balance and stability and power from side to side. So that's obviously really important in your athletic population. So guys, I challenge you on your next training day just to sprinkle a couple plyometrics into the end of your session. Believe me, the DOMs will be insane. You will not be walking straight, and you will not be comfortable for at least a day or two. When you get started with these plyometrics, you are going to feel unbelievably uncoordinated. So it's saying that hold on to something to get you started, get used to the motions. I don't want to see any of you on like gym fails or just stacking it, going for the peak box jump. Build it up, start with your reps and sets. You can move to a time parameter if you're looking to challenge your fitness. So those are our favorite plyometric exercises. They're really simple, something that you can rip into straight away. If you like today's video, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll see you next time.